By now, your gear and boat should be ready to go. Our guides are standing by with the best information on where the fish are biting. Plus, we got the latest rigs and techniques and new products. This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Hey y'all, and welcome back. We're heating up here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report and can't wait to get our captains on the line to tell you how hot the fishing is going to be for Father's Day weekend.
I'm excited.
I know you are.
I like Father's Day weekend.
The CCA workbench looks like it's full of tips and secrets for the weekend, huh, Dave?
Yeah, we're going to talk about fishing for sharks and how to catch those things without getting yourself killed.
Well, that sounds very
good. Good for the
Dave.
sharks and good for you.
Sounds good. All right, well, Dave, Rick, I can't imagine a better Father's Day weekend than being out on the water, can you?
No, you're absolutely right, Bree. Part of the weekend I'm going to get to spend with you because we're going to be filming a Sportsman's Adventure episode for 2018. But Sunday, my day with the boys.
Absolutely. All right, well, then let's jump right in and get started with our first captain, Chad Kinney in the Lower Coast region. I hope you have a good weekend full of Father's Day charters, Chad.
You know, that's going to be awesome. We'll be fishing. So the weather's been holding great here, guys. And despite coming off the full moon, fishing's just been off the hook. So whoever's ready to go inshore or offshore, whatever you're going to do on your bucket list, just go out there and grab it. And it's on now. Starting with the inshore, trout fishing, been going here at Port Mansfield. I've been out here the last few weeks here, and it's been great, both on artificial and live bait. And the whips are sided. So I'd look to the west shorelines for bait activity. There's been mullet flipping in there and everything else. And so I'd go ahead and get out there early and work your top waters if you're going to throw artificial. Try like a Rapala skitter walk early. Super Spook bone color works real well on that also. If the winds start picking up, which I normally do later on the day, go ahead and switch over to a soft plastic with like an 1/8 ounce jig head and try a red and white paddle tail or a plum chartreuse sand eel works real well on that also. If you're fishing some live bait, you know, this time of year it's working really well. They're getting feeding on it real well. Work the grass lines and the potholes. Use live croaker, piggies, finger mullet. And depending on the size of the bait, but pair it up. But right now I'm using about a 5/0 Kale hook with a 25-pound fluorocarbon shock leader and casting those potholes and drop-offs, you know, for your best results there. Had a buddy of mine, Adam Taylor, he was down. He was on a Poland skiff next to me here a few days ago. And anyways, we got a great picture of a trout here. So he's next to me with his buddy Brett.
Whoa.
You see a picture of that trout.
That's a nice fish, Chad. That's a really nice
awesome
one.
Trout. I got to see it wade fishing right next to him. I saw him land it, and they released it too. It was over 30 inches and a great release. So it's that was exciting on that one.
All right, you got a redfish report for us this week?
Yeah, sure do. Moving over to the redfish area out of South Padre Island. It's good around the Cullen House, about 2 to 3 foot of water. Try the weedless gold spoons, small topwaters early like a Super Spook Junior or a skitter walk, and move over your plastic paddle tails like a red and white or anything with a chartreuse on that. If live shrimp's available, it's been kind of skinny down here, you know, hit and miss on live shrimp. So if you got live shrimp available and you like using that, get a popping cork with about 2 foot a leader on that, about 25-pound fluorocarbon, and get in that muddier water and really work that popping cork. And the redfish been kind of scattered through there, but you're going to get producing redfish through there. So moving over to the offshore. Offshore has just been lights out. It's going really nuts. I wish I had more time to cover, but we can get you down here quick. Out of Port Aransas, billfish, hit up to about 200 fathoms. Those fish are holding out there pretty good. Liquid temperature breaks, of course, and weed lines have worked. And kingfish have been good in the shallower waters and the state waters. Anything around structure has been real well in that. So on the kingfish, like I said, they've been up down the whole lower coast here. It's been great. Look for bait balls or color changes. And troll a bright dive or anything flashy, like, you know, Rapala works great, anything else like that. The diver's going to work great. Troll it 5 to 7 knots to target the kingfish. But also try some ribbonfish free lining, you know, around the jetties or any structure you got. My suggestion is when you're trolling these, you know, don't troll 5, 6, get crazy on all the lines. Just troll 3 lines. Put 2 lines on your flat, stagger them with your divers, and then put a cedar plug or a feather down the middle. That way, in case you get a Dorado come by or something else, you got a better shot on them on that. But the 2 lines allow you to stagger when you get a knockdown. You can clear your lines quicker, and you got a lot less chance of getting cut off, guys, you know, so you can actually get a better shot landing your fish. So moving over to the billfish, I said out of Port A, got a great report. Buddy of mine, Justin Drummond, fishes. He's captain of the Heartache. And they got white marlin, sailfish, blue marlin. So use some rig valleys, do on some islanders and your riggers. some chuggers on your flat lines. Look for the weed lines about 200 fathoms on the billfish. Also look for a lot of bait balls out there. There's been tuna crashing and busting. There's also been a bunch of whale sharks, pilot whales out there. So if you see a lot of that action in there, if you're looking for the tuna, go ahead and stay on those. But the tuna's been so thick, from what Justin's been telling me, he said stay outside the tuna if you're looking for the actual billfish, and work around the outsides of that like that. And you get a lot better shot at your whites and your bills, and stay on the bait balls if you're looking more for the tuna. But he's got a great picture there of a release, blue marlin. Colin Norrell on the Heartache there. He was Captain Justin Drummond, released a nice 350-pounder this past weekend.
Hey, Chad, I got a question for you. My question is, we're going to have a little terminology quiz. So on a shotgun, explain to people what a shotgun is when you're offshore fishing.
Shotgun, what we got, guys, is you got your two flat lines, which are short ones, your riggers on the long ones. Your shotgun is a center rigger. So your center rigger shotgun is your farthest one out. And lots of times the best thing you can do is run a bird or a teaser on it, attached with like a ballyhoo or a mid-range lure, works the best, and that's your farthest lure back.
All right, thank you so much, Chad. We're gonna go ahead and look at the hot spots from the Lower Coast region. Inshore, trout out of Port Mansfield has been good on both artificial and live baits in the last week with the wind subsiding. Look to the west shoreline for bait activity, and then offshore, billfish out of Port Aransas head out 200 fathoms plus and look for the temperature changes and the weed lines to work. Kingfish have been plentiful around the structure in state waters, Bree.
A little terminology quiz, huh?
Yeah, man, I think sometimes we gotta have some clarification.
I like it and I agree. Okay, the Upper Fresh region is up next, and we're zooming in on Lake Possum Kingdom, Fork, and Lake Lavon, and it seems like y'all are in for a treat this weekend, right, Rick?
Hey, yes it is. The fishing's been great here, Bree. Out on Possum Kingdom, which is west of Fort Worth, that's a beautiful lake right in the hill country. It has some giant stripers in it, and that's what's going on Lake Possum Kingdom right now. They're pulling a lot of current through the lake because of high water, so the stripers are schooling on top water near the Hell's Gate area, mid-lake to South Lake. The action's been good all day on skitterwalks and Zara spooks. If you see them chasing the shad, get on them, because they're catching some big ones right now. The locals there throw a 5-inch storm swim bait that's in a shad pattern and a bunker color on up in the day. You can still catch those fish after they go down throwing that 5-inch swim bait. Moving on to Lake Fork. The bass at Fork have gone deep on me. They're about 30 feet right now. They're on the ridges that have submerged trees. So what we do is go out with our electronics, just like we're looking for brush piles, and we find those standing trees that are out in like 30 foot. The top of the tree's probably 10 foot below the surface. That's the setup right now. You want to work your Texas rigs and jigs through those trees, something that's really weedless that won't hang in the trees. The 10-inch blue fleck LFT worm, the 7-inch Bass Assassin rail worm, and a green pumpkin has been catching a lot of fish for me right now. The Cordell 3/4 spoon has always been a good bait on Fork. We're throwing it on those same deep spots. You just can't get around those trees with that spoon because it's an exposed hook and you'll lose all your tackle there.
Hey, tell me about the photo, Nick, big man.
Yes, that's Danny Perkins. Some guys from Central Texas got one trip with me, a group called Camo for Christ that just go around all over Texas helping people out. They had a banquet, and I put that trip in there, and Danny Perkins and his friend there won that trip and caught some nice fish.
Well, that's really thoughtful of you to do that. Thank you for working with those local charities, Rick. Hey, what else do you have for us in the Upper Fresh region?
We got some crappie going on that Lake Lavon that's just east of Dallas, Rick. This guy, Tommy Azale, has been really whacking them over there. The lake has got them in the trees that are about 10 to 16 foot. Electronics, again, is a big deal. Structure scan, side scan. The fish are about 5 foot off the bottom in those trees. He said that's a real consistent deal. You find the trees about 5 foot up. Smaller baits have been the key this week. Tandem rig flea flies, chartreuse blue and pink blue. Rig them up tandem so you can catch 2 fish at once doing that setup. And a single rig right now, tip it with a minnow if you're having a tough time getting them going. And he said that'll get them fired up, and then you can just go back to catching them on the jig by itself.
So, Rick, I got a question for you. Tell me about this photo first, and then I'll hit you with the question.
That's Richard James, one of Tommy's clients. He just caught a bunch of those little scrappy crappies he got there.
I love it, scrappy crappies. All right, so here's my question, Rick. You know, when it gets really hot, during the heated time of the day, I noticed some of the freshwater guys are reporting about fishing at night. Now, do y'all use day glows in order to cast a shoreline, a shadow on the shoreline like they used to do in the old days? Or do we have new techniques for night fishing?
Some of the night fishermen will use the lights and use the fluorescent line, and it illuminates the line, and it's a real fun way to fish. Your line looks like it's the size of your pinky. Say you're throwing 20-pound fluorescent line, and it looks like the size of a small rope. You can actually just watch that line at night under the black light, and it'll look like it jumps 6 inches when you get a bite.
I love it.
It's a fun way to fish. I mean, there's a lot of people do it here in Texas. It's fun.
All right, sounds good. Well, just for the record, I want you to know I jump 6 inches every time I get a bite, day or night. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Upper Fresh hot spots. Our guide, Rick Carter, says inshore, Lake Possum Kingdom, striped bass are schooling and hitting on topwater plugs around the docks and points in Hell's Gate area and on the mid-lake. The best baits are Skitter Walks and Zara Spooks, and then Lake Lavon is producing great catches of big crappie in the flooded trees and about 10 to 16 feet with tandem rigs. This will load your boat when you're catching 2 at a time.
We have so much fun ways of catching fish in Texas, I promise. Like every show, I find out a new way to fish.
I love it.
That's fun.
I know.
It's great. Okay, we have so many more Father's Day fishing spots to cover right here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. So stay tuned for the Upper Coast region and a sharky CCA Workbench Rigs and Techniques by Dave Farrell, of course.
Right. Hey, you gotta have long pliers to go shark fishing, that's for sure.
I thought you used your hands.
I use long pliers. Something with longer is better.
Oh, got it.
Trust me.
Got it. All right, guys, we'll be right back with all of that and more.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The American Fishing Tackle Company. Precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. Navionics. We start where the road ends. CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation. And Okuma, inspired fishing.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower four-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable four-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower four-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Inside you, there's an outside you. A you that takes the road less traveled than the road less traveled. and finds the comforts of home extremely uncomfortable. This is for that you.
Remember to follow our guides and be up to date on all things fishing in Texas. Make sure to head over to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com. You can also like us on Facebook at Texas Insider Fishing Report and follow us on Instagram at TifferTV. Also, don't forget to send and tag us in your fish-tastic photos and videos. Now, it's time for Rigs and Techniques.
We're here at the CCA workbench, and
Yes,
we're
sir.
talking about rigs and techniques. This week you picked sharks, which is really cool.
Well,
I like
you
the fact of
know,
that.
the reason being is, and it's getting to be summertime, and that's a great time to fish for sharks in Texas. And Galveston probably has some of the best shark fishing in the Gulf of Mexico, which probably makes it some of the best sharks fishing in the world because there's a lot of sharks in the Gulf of Mexico. And you know, I started in the saltwater business because of sharks. I liked them. My dad took me to see blue water white death when I was 7 years old in Arizona on Davis Monthan Air Force Base.
Yeah.
And ever since I saw a shark eat somebody, I wanted to catch them. You know, I wanted to be around them and interact with them. And a great thing about sharks is, you know, they're usually pretty easy to catch when they're around. They're not very picky, and but their whole body is like a big tongue. You know, they're almost like a catfish. They can taste the water around them. They're really good about getting on a chum line and following the chum to the bait. They're the nose of the ocean.
Right.
And not only do they have really good sense of smell, but they can actually detect electrical pulses. You know, they have these little gel-filled pits all in the front of their face and their nose that can actually detect tiny, minute electrical pulses of their prey, like a fish or anything. When it moves, it makes a little electrical pulse, and that's why, you know, you'll sometimes have a shark come up and start nosing your motors and chewing on metal stuff on the back of your boat, because to them it's like it's alive, the electricity.
I've always wondered this. Maybe you can answer or not. If you can, it's cool. Sometimes when you're around sharks, like around docks, you know, my dock house over in the Bahamas, after a few days of fishing for them and playing with them, it's almost like they can feel or sense the wire leader.
Yeah, well,
you
not
put
only
on
that,
monofilament, he'll eat it.
a shark is pretty smart. See, that's another thing. Shark is a pretty smart fish. They say that a great big shark, like a great white or, you know, a basking shark or some of those sharks, are actually can be as smart as a rat, which is incredible. You know, they can actually train sharks to go through mazes and stuff, and they're really smart fish.
So what kind of rigs are we going to use?
Well, you know, you're usually going to use wire rigs, at least number 9's cable, steel wire, or a bunch of braided different cables you can use, because, you know, the shark has teeth, and you want to be able to survive that initial bite. Now, a circle hook, a lot of times, if you use a circle hook, and I would only use circle hooks when I'm fishing for sharks, it's going to catch them right in the corner. So you can get away with a heavy monofilament leader a lot of times if you're using a nice circle hook.
Right.
You know, using maybe 100, 180, 200 pound mono, you know, whatever it takes, you know, like 220, 221, whatever it takes.
Right.
but you could use a big circle hook and wire.
If you're using smaller fish, Dave, do you need a big hook like this?
No, you're only needing this kind of
80 pounder.
No, for little black fins and whatnot, little spinner sharks that you're going to encounter on the beach.
What size would you go down to?
4 or 5/0 circle hook is just fine. And
Okay.
and you can use 80-pound monofilament a lot of times. And you want to use a pretty long leader on most sharks, because sharks like to roll. And their skin is very abrasive. You know, they have a skin that's called dermal denticles. It's teeth skin, actually, is the literal translation of it. They have teeth on their skin, and a lot of times they'll actually, a bigger shark will actually come up and brush something and get it to bleed and get a taste of it, actually, with the skin on his
Well,
his
that's
back.
what
They actually used to make sandpaper out of shark skin.
That's one of the things I always say, that if you talk to people that have been bit by sharks,
Yeah.
sometimes they
get brushed.
They got brushed.
They get brushed a lot.
Situation.
You know, in Texas, you can keep 1 shark per person per day. You can have 2 on you. It's good for a lot of the guys who camp and stuff like that on the beach. But you can only keep 1 a day, and you can get black tips, sharp nose, hammerheads, lemons, threshers, tigers, short fin makos, but they all have to be 64-inch minimum in Texas. You can't keep anything less than 64 inches. And a lot of those fish you won't encounter inshore, like the thresher shark and the mako sharks can get inshore a lot of times when the kingfish come in. They'll come up on the beach, but most of the time they're off. And nighttime fishing for sharks is really good because that's when they get really active. I mean, you can catch a shark any time of the day, but at nighttime is the shark time. You know, that's when they get really active. They get on the hunt. They start chasing bait. And if you get some bloody bonitas, and use this big slab of bonita, or if you're lucky enough to go out and catch a barracuda on one of the rigs or something, nothing stinks more than a barracuda. And a nice barracuda fillet is an awesome bait for any of the sharks, tiger sharks, bull sharks, whatever. One thing you want to do when you get these sharks back, to the beach, I'd never put a live shark in the boat for any reason. Right. I'm just that way. I don't care if he's 3 feet long. Right. He has to be dead before he comes in the boat. Right. Because as soon as some smart aleck starts handling the little baby shark, he's wearing it, on his face, and then I got to go in, cut the day short because he cut his hand. So, if you're on the beach, bring you a wet towel to put over their eyes. Right. That'll calm the shark. You want to keep him horizontal. Don't lift him by his tail because they don't have any bones. Right. So you can really rupture their organs and hurt them. So just take care of them when you get them in. If you're not going to take them to kill, to eat, take care of them and let them go.
They're the vacuum cleaners of the sea, for sure.
It's a healthy ocean that has them in it.
That was very informative. Thank you very much,
No
Mr.
worries.
Farrell.
I have a question for both of you.
Yes.
What is a shark's favorite sci-fi show?
Sharknado.
Shark Trek. Oh, that's a good one. All right, the Upper Coast region sure has a lot of options for all those papas out there. And Caleb Harp, who's all about a family fishing day, is going to put you on him. Hey, Caleb.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. Did you like my shark joke?
Oh, of course.
Wow, thanks. Thank you so much. Okay, let's hear it.
Let's hear it. All right, guys. Hey, these open water schools of redfish are really starting to heat up with the rise of the water temperature. That's normally a good summer routine that we do for our reds here in Galveston Bay. But these reds can generally be found roaming in the area between Bird Island and the Houston Ship Channel in East Bay. And, there's going to be more and more different schools show up in different locations throughout the summer. But this is going to be one area that particularly holds these schools consistently. You can go there from about right now all the way till, about September and find some reds there, just depending on the weather. But, these acre-sized schools of fish are constantly on the move. And so a fully charged trolling motor is going to be a must. You're going to have to chase them hard, chase them fast. But generally, they're going to be slicking, allowing you to track the flick to the school. But occasionally, they're going to rise up to the top and blow bait out of the water. And there's nothing better than rolling up and seeing that because obviously that's a telltale sign of exactly where they are. Bigger the better on the lure selection for sure. Bigger bait, like a 1-ounce spoon or a swim bait rigged on a 1-ounce jig head, are going to be your best bet. That allows you to punch through those bull reds that are 30 to 45 inches long to get through to the slots. And that's also going to allow you to cast further, and that'll help you when you're trying to catch up to the fish on the run when you're really chasing them hard. These fish are really big. I mean, these schools are going to be probably about 80% oversized fish. Like I said, 30 to 45 inches long. There are good slot fish. A lot of the good tournaments are won off of these schools because the fish that are in the slot are going to be over 8 towards up to 10 and a quarter pounds. Really, staying on that school and picking them out is going to be a really good way to catch reds this time of year. A big heavy action rod is really good, and some heavy 50 to 60 pound braid doesn't hurt either for winching them in. You don't have to do that, but it also, that heavy, tackle really helps you to, bring them in quick if you're in a tournament or something like that. But switching over to trout, the trout, they've been good on the south shoreline of Sabine Lake in front of biotrains, clamshell beds off the south shoreline in about 4 foot of water. Visible bait's really going to be your key right now. These fish aren't slicking really like they should be this time of year. And so when you find the bait, those fish are they're probably going to be there. And most of these fish have been in the top of the water column. So using a light jig head with a buoyant paddle tail like a mirror-lure marsh minnow is probably going to be your best bet. And, these trout, they're not very big in size lately, but they're still a lot of fun to catch. And it also, down there on that south shoreline of Sabine, it offers a lot of protection from the stiff winds we've got this time of year. And, when the winds are down, though, keep an eye out on that deeper portion of the bay for some bird activity because that's about to go off here any minute now. And go ahead and going offshore now. This wind's really been ripping. I mean, we've had a lot of stiff southeast winds the last couple of days, and they're calling for even harder winds the next couple of days, even into the weekend. But if it does lay, you can get on the Kingfish on the gas and oil rigs 10 to 15 miles out of Galveston. And these Kings are going to be fairly consistent most of the summer out there, and it's not a terrible run to get out there. Dead sardines rigged on a double J hook, with wire leaders, generally going to be the best way to catch them. But trolling lures work really good as well. These Kings are going to be up to about 30 pounds, maybe a few bigger if you're lucky. And then the cobia, like we've been talking about for the last few weeks, are still good. And that's always going to be a good choice just because of the lack of the distance you've got to go to get to them, like the other species. Anything standing above water on the beachfront, near shore structures, 10 to 15 miles out, they're going to be holding these cobia right now, so keep an eye out. Just pull up to any of these structures and just rev your motor up, and they're going to rise up to the top to check out what's going on. Pitch a big swim bait to them and hold on. These cobia, they're probably going to be anywhere from 50 to 65 pounds. Occasionally you can catch one bigger, so if y'all are looking for a star winner in that star tournament, go out there and grind them out. Might get lucky.
All right, thank you, Caleb. It was a good report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Upper Coast hotspots inshore. Redfish open water schools between Bird Island and the Ship Channel in East Galveston Bay. Acres of bulls, reds, and mixed slots slicking and blowing up on the top that can be found wherever the wind isn't too rough. Big 1-ounce spoons or swim baits rigged on a 1-ounce jig head is the best to punch through into the schools. And then offshore, Kingfish on the gas and oil rigs, 10 to 15 miles offshore. Dead sardines is the best bait to be trolling with lures. You can work this as well too. Rig the sardines on a double J hook with wire leader is the best method.
Okay, what do you give Dad for Father's Day for a dad that deserves a new boat and a new truck?
An entry fee into the Star Tournament, maybe?
Oh, you're such a good guesser. While that might be a little out of your price range, you can give your dad the chance to win one of 17 boats, 5 trucks, or 3 UTVs by signing him up for the CCA Texas Star Tournament. For more information and to register, go to startournament.org or your local academy. CCA, the leader in marine conservation and habitat restoration.
Good job there, Miss Bree.
All right, we're coming to you Middle Fresh and Lower Coast region, so don't prep for your weekend just yet. We'll be right back on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, performance through innovation. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. And King Sailfish Mounts, www.kingsailfish.com.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
Hey, how do you like your Contender? How do I like my Contender? What's not to like? Dude, I just saw a Contender, and man, I gotta give me one.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left, there's no cycle.
When it comes to sailfishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
today's Power Pole tip of the week is certainly about the Power Pole comparison. Now, last week we touched on customizing your micro spike, but this week we want to give you a rundown of all the Power Pole hydraulic anchors. Now, the blade is the most sleekest blade of all, or anchor of all the anchors. Now, the one thing that comes to mind is certainly it comes in 4 different colors and the shaft lengths up to 8 and 10 feet. Now, we move into the Signature Series. The Signature Series comes in 4 and 6 foot lengths, but it only weighs 13 pounds. So you guys with technical poling skiffs, this is an anchor that you should consider. Now, the original anchor was the Pro Series 2. The Pro Series 2s come in a 6 and 8 foot length, black and white in color, but this is where Power Pole all originated, and it is really tried and true and has been around since day one. Now, the Sportsman Series is obviously, out of our 4 hydraulic anchors, even though it is the least expensive one, it certainly doesn't change the fact that all of these hydraulic anchors are rated for 28-foot boats and up to 4,500 pounds. This also comes in a black finish and 6 to 8 foot lengths. Now, the Micro, guys, is certainly the electric anchor, and the electric anchor, even though it's electric, it still has the ability to hold a 1,500-pound boat. So those of you guys with technical poling skiffs or Big John boats, this would be the anchor for you. And the great part about it is that it can be portable. It can be a unit that you can use on your paddleboard as well as your John boat. And that's today's Power Pole tip of the week. And next week we'll be talking certainly about Power Pole maintenance.
All right, let's head into our Upper Fresh region with Stephen Johnston with the news on Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn. So listen up if you want to take your pops to catch some fish this weekend, right, Stephen?
It's good. It's real good. We finally got a break in this weather, got some sunshine out, and this whole week's looking great. So the bass fishing's really been good here. It's kind of weird for us this time of the year because we've got so much water. The lake's still about 3 inches above normal. They got both generators dumping, and they really still hadn't caught up with it, but they will in this next week. With the high water, what this has done, this has really kept a lot of those fish and put a lot more of those fish up in the hay grass and in the flooded bushes. It's kind of weird. It's almost just like springtime fishing. The only problem is a lot of the bushes are just so green with the leaves and stuff on it. A lot of times it's hard getting those fish out, and it's hard getting your bait in to where the fish are. It's good to throw like a frog, like a popping frog and a swimming frog and like a swim jig in the holes. And then the guys that like to flip, you have to use braid. I'm using some 50 to 75-pound braid, and I like flipping at 3/4-ounce tungsten, getting that bait in there, but it's so thick on some of them bushes, we're having to go to 1-ounce tungsten. You know, the water was down 2 feet. There's a lot of vines and leaves and thick stuff grown up. So just really take your time and flip it in there. And one other thing to watch out for right now, there's a lot of wasp in there. So if you get around one of them bushes, you get hung up, make sure you take a good look before you go up in there and get that bait. You can also catch them on a jig. I'm throwing a 3/4 or 1 ounce, and then some of the bushes throwing 1.25 ounce jig, and then putting a small speed crawl or a small beaver, so you can get that fast action as that bait falls fast through them bushes. You get more bites on that. The other thing is there's if you're not want to fish up or shallow, there's quite a bit of fish out in that 6 to 10, 12 foot range. During the day, it's an early morning, late deal. But the best deal here lately, I don't know if everybody knows, but Toledo Bend is just well known for night fishing. So with the warm temps coming in, there's a lot of people out at night, and those night guys had some good reports this week. They're catching them from 12 to 18 feet of water on Texas rig and Carolina rig, throwing a 10-inch or 12-inch worm. You know, with these big thunderstorms we've been having, if you can't get out there at night on the main lake points and the main lake ridges, you can get back up against the hay grass, and then take a black, just a good old black buzz bait, or a big old black Colorado spinnerbait. Take the biggest Colorado blade you can find and put just a single Colorado on there, and just stay in that 3 to 8 foot range, and it's been good just about all night long.
Tell me about the photo, bub.
Well, Raul come over this week. First time he'd been to Toledo Bend. His dad works in the oil field. They've been doing a lot of work over here, so he brought him over here, and he said the biggest fish he'd ever caught. Now, he's from Odessa, Texas, so Odessa out there, everybody from out there, is not a lot of water out there. So he said the biggest fish he ever caught was a 2-pounder, and he caught one 3 1/4. About 10 minutes later, he caught a 4 1/2, and about 30 minutes later, he caught that 6-pounder he's holding right there. So those are pretty awesome days.
Before we talk about crappie, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Navionics from your area. Now, we're talking about the Toledo Bend Reservoir up by the bridge. The key, guys, is that we want to show you the difference. This is what your maps are typically look like when they come through off of when you get them brand new. But if you'll go in your menu and turn on the sonar charts, look at the difference. Or maybe it may be labeled fishing chip. You can see where now we have all the different drop-offs and all the different points that our captains generally talk about fishing around this time of year. So make sure that you go into the menu and turn on your sonar chart or maybe fishing chip, depending on how your plotter is labeled, and that'll help you have a better understanding of the contours of the bottom. All right, Stephen, let's talk a little bit about the crappie.
Okay, we've been talking, the last several weeks, but the crappie are still going good. We really thought this high water on both Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend, the water's high. We've got flow on both lakes with a lot of water going through, but the crappie are still, I'm not going to say it's great, but it's still good. Everybody still catching around the bridges, all the creek bridges, the main lake bridges, all the bridges, and then on Toledo with all the docks, a lot of more fish are showing up right on the ends of the docks. We're catching fish from 8 to 15 feet over 25 to 35 feet of water. You can catch them on jig, but it's best just not fight the jig and just take a minute and drop it down there, and always make sure that you don't have that bait below those fish. Those fish won't go down. So if you think you're fishing too deep, just take a couple cranks on that handle and get that minnow back up in that strike zone.
All right, tell us about this photo, Chief.
All right, that's Mr. Billy and Miss Pat. They came over this week, and they're from Burnett, Texas, out kind of central Texas. Come over and got in the boat and caught a good box of crappie there about 10:30 the other morning. So it's been real good.
Man, it looks like it's been really good. I can tell my summer next year is going to change. All right, bud, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Middle Fresh region hotspots. Our guide Steven says the bass in Toledo Bend. For you daytime guys, use frogs, swim jigs, and Texas rig worms. The best depth is going to be 1 to 8 feet. And then for you guys at nighttime, you want to use buzz bait, spinner baits, and Texas rig worms. The best depth is going to be 3 to 7 and 12 to 18.
Well, I know where this dad will be this weekend. So, Captain Bank, want to tell the rest of us where and what we can look forward to offshore and inshore for the Middle Coast region?
You bet. Man, we've been waiting a month for winds to calm and tides to green so we could work the surf and the contingent beachfront from Freeport to Port O'Connor. And just as we expected, the surf is full of feisty trout. We drifted Matagorda surf and tossed skitter walks and super spooks in the first gut and caught trout to 6 pounds and watched bigger trout shake loose a bunch of troubles. There are tons of huge white shrimp on the beach, like 4 to 6 count shrimp. And those big trout are following those huge prawns and gorging on them. Just about every trout we cleaned this week are loaded with those big shrimp and those 5-inch pogies. Early in the morning was best as the wind, and the winds kind of increased throughout the morning and made it kind of bumpy. So what we did, we went to the jetty from there and just continued to catch 4 to 6 pound trout real tight to the rock. But we were throwing live shrimp under a mid-coast popping cork and rigging it about 4 foot down. In Surfside and Freeport guide, Mike Segal, he found a lot of 6 pound trout in the surf. He was using croakers and live shrimp, and the same held true for Port O'Connor. They took easy limits of trout on croakers and topwater. Guide Lynn Smith said he's been enjoying a steady bite on trout to 24 inches on topwaters and plastics in Port O. He's working those back lakes on that hard incoming tide. Those trout are coming through Pascaval, and they're kind of on that flood tide and rounding the corner and just flooding those back lakes. East Matagorda Bay greened up this week, and some of the largest trout of the year were found. Multiple 9-pounders were caught, and in fact, our CCA Star Middle Coast leaderboard is a 9-pound, 10-ounce trout that was caught out of East Matagorda Bay. Just a pig. Not to be outdone is West Matagorda Bay. There's light winds have allowed us to fish Half Moon Reef. That's a reef with kind of an underwater jetty in about 5 to 6 foot of water. We've been taking limits of trout by 9 o'clock. And the waders, we're continuing to find lots of trout on the South Shoreline on super spooks, skitter walks, and sheep pups. And there's a photo there. One of the better days I've had last week that I've had in about 10 years. We worked the jetty and the surf, and man, there are several 4 to 5 pound trout that bunch.
All right, tell us about the black drum, bub.
Man, black drum, we're fishing about any reef on the incoming tide, and chances are there's drum all over it. Lots of drum were found this week on Shell Island, Twin Island, Oyster Lake, and Mad Island. Live shrimp under a mid-coast popping cork is about a foot leader because we're fishing about 18 inches of 3 foot of water. Palacios is holding good black drum around Coon Island and small reefs and Trace Palacios and Turtle Bay, and nearby Half Moon Reef where we've been catching all the trout has got pretty good black drum on it too. Around Freeport, Bass Drop, and Chocolate Bayous are holding limits of trout as well. Man, redfish, our tides have been switching early in the morning and kind of going out throughout the day. That's made the grassy shorelines on the north end of West Bay prime for redfish. We're catching them in spots like Cutoff Flats and the Blue Hole that have been holding good reds. When we're wading, we're tossing hunchbacks and gold spoons along the grass. Found reds early in the morning. Later in the afternoon, as the tides begin to fall, waders are posted up in the middle of the bayous, waiting for those reds to leave those backwaters. As always, there's plenty of reds still to be found at the jetties along the middle coast, with lots of big white shrimp on the beach. That's what you ought to be throwing, those big white shrimp. And the kind you either, if you don't use them up, you take them home and you wrap a piece of bacon around them, or you fry them up. It's just been good. We're gonna go to offshore now. Got kingfish. Michael Quebeca Matagorda said the kingfish bite is on while trolling for Russell lures and stretch 30s. The same holds true near Freeport, about 30 foot of water. These kings are off the beach, just right off the beach. Now, I mean, just a few minutes off the beach, and they're catching them right there around those rigs. Weed lines are holding good dolphin and triple tail. They're hiding under floating trees and debris. Shrimp, mullet, and squid are baits of choice. We had a fish kill this week, I want to say, and it's the media kind of propped it up, and I've been getting a lot of calls about it, about what's going on in Matagorda. All it was a bunch of shad and a bunch of pogies in from the Gulf. No game fish were found, and our media, our Houston media, has just been sensationalized. It's got a lot of people worried about a lot of fish dying, and I just wanted to tell everybody everything's good in Matagorda. We're still catching fish. And there's a photo there of a nice kingfish caught off the beach this week.
All right, looking good. Thank you so much, Bink. Great report from the Middle Coast. We're going to go ahead and take a look at our guide Bink's recommendations. Inshore trout, the Freeport, Surfside, Matagorda, and Port O'Connor beachfronts are good for the trout, up to 6 pounds on croakers, live shrimp, and top waters. And then offshore, kingfish are good while trolling Russell lures and stretch 30s about 6 miles off the beach. Also, there's some red snappers up to 20 pounds in Texas state waters.
And for our final act, we're introducing the Lower Fresh region, but we also have another class act to look forward to at the CCA Workbench, and his name is Dave Farrell. Got some Father's Day goodies for us, Dave?
Yeah, classy too.
Classy. Look at that class act.
This is the secret to how I look so good on this show.
There we go.
This shirt.
There we go.
I'm not kidding.
Right, guys. We'll be right back with his secrets and more.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder. Rapala, catch the latest at rapala.com. Yeti, built for the wild. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program. StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
The ultimate predator has evolved again. Now, Yamaha VMAX SHO Performance is prowling the waters in 4 hungry, exciting new models. With their 4 valves per cylinder and double overhead cam fuel-injected design, these advanced 4-stroke predators are taking performance to a whole new level. Vicious, lean, efficient. VMAX SHO. The pack is growing.
Thanks for tuning in to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes as well as special segments right on our homepage. Just head to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up.
Well, Dave, it's time to talk about products here at the CCA Workbench. So where are we going to start?
Well, first we're going to start with these AFTCO Sirius shirts here. I really like these shirts. This is how they come out of the dryer.
Yes.
I'm wearing this shirt on TV, and it came out of the dryer. I mean, my wife loves me, but she ain't ironing my stuff. You know what I mean? So it's called the Sirius long sleeve tech shirt. It's got vertical vents in the back that go up the side. Articulated shoulders that let you move real good. Dual front pockets. Everybody wants to have a front pocket. You got 2 of them. It's got a little microfiber lens cleaner, and to clean off your sunglasses with the tag of your shirt.
I didn't even know that.
Yep, and it's got
so glad you said.
AFTCO stain release. So if you spill stuff on it, like your spaghetti, like I normally do, they don't.
You know what I like
stains
about these shirts, Dave, is they have a button on the pocket and buttons on the collar, and when you're doing 60. That stuff can really whap you in the face.
Slapping you in the face.
And but no flapping no more.
I got you. Those are the AFTCO Sirius shirts. They're really cool
Beautiful shirts.
All right, now these are the new Skiffs 2.0s from Soft Science. They're got their own proprietary cushion in there. They made it a little shorter, so they're not as tall as they used to be. They look a lot better. You really didn't need all that cushion because that stuff is great. It brings an arch support in them, and really soft toe post is what they call that.
That's correct.
Non-skid as usual, and non-slip.
That's right. And they don't mark, believe it or not, they don't mark the boat.
Right. This is the palm design. It'd be nice for ladies to wear.
And you know what I wear? I wear the palms.
You could probably pull it off.
And it's the thing is, I like the fact that it comes in, lots of different colors.
Correct.
I got an olive with a green. They come with a red. So you got a lot of choices.
Right.
Soft Science is really doing a job.
Super comfortable.
Yes, they are.
Super comfortable.
Okay.
All right. Now here we have, this is the O-Search Costa Del Mar collection. And what this is, it's, their motto is, don't fear the fin, fear a world without them. And we were talking about sharks earlier. And this, O-Search is a research organization that is trying to help sharks.
Right.
They go on expeditions and, tag big sharks and, do a lot of studies on them. And Costa is now teamed up with O-Search to, try to help them out. They've got 3 pages on their website full of sunglasses, these tech shirts, even T-shirts like this one right here. So, if you want to help out O-Search and get good, Costa Del Mar stuff, go online at Costa Del Mar. These are the new 580Ps. These are Remoras, I think.
These are the half moons.
Half moons, and those are the Remoras. Right.
Yeah.
And they got really cool gray mirrors now.
Right.
These are the new gray mirrors that they have. So if you want to help out O-Search and Costa Del Mar, go on to Costa Del Mar, like CostaDelMar.com, and check out the O-Search pages. They got 3 whole pages full of stuff.
That's right.
Cool hats too. All right, this is a Coastal Conservation Association. It's called a Pro Belt, and what I would use that thing for is wade fishing.
Right.
It comes with a 15-foot stringer.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a built-in rod holder. When you start to handle the fish or change a bait, you can put it right there in your rod holder. It's a real wide Velcro, so it has it sticks really good. And if you put it up higher, it might even help your back a little bit. Because I like to wear one of those back things when I'm wading as well, because my belly is so fat, it pulls on my lower back. So anything that I can have belting me feels good.
But the other thing that I
Good for
like
wading.
is that at Academy, they sell some accessories that you can accessorize your Pro Belt.
Yeah, you can
like
hang stuff all
pliers
over
and-
it.
Yeah.
It's got little loops and stuff all over there for you. You can hang stuff all over it.
So this is the beginning of a long waiting relationship
Correct.
of toys. And
Correct.
where can we find this?
Academy. You go to academies.
Academy.com.
Yeah.
CCA.
Yeah.
Just click on
They're
it.
all over in the academies.
And whatever you buy
Helps out CCA Texas.
Exactly. That's what we're about.
That's right.
As adults here, it's our turn to help out the environment and the causes.
Correct.
Right, Bree?
That's absolutely correct. The Yeti Lower Fresh region is up for the last of the Father's Day report. So, Matt Reed, are you ready to close us out with some good weekend fishing vibes?
I bet I can do that, Bree.
I bet you can too. Let's hear it.
Well, we might as well get this thing started. We're going to talk about largemouth bass, and I'm going to throw in a different lake this week. I try to do that fairly regularly. We're going to start off with Canyon Lake, which is south of San Antonio. The bass fishing there has been good lately. Two different patterns are really working right now. There's a shallow water pattern in 6 to 8 foot. In the stick-ups, the brush in the shallow water with soft plastics, either a Senko or a 10-inch old monster zoom worm. Those are doing really well in the shallow water. When it gets on up in the day with a brighter sky, there's a deep water pattern in 15 to 20 foot out on the main lake points and ledges. Those fish are biting drop shots, Texas rig, zoom speed craws, and trick worms. Water's real clear, so using those smaller soft plastics out there in that deeper water. Green pumpkin, watermelon red, and watermelon candy are the best colors on that Canyon Lake right now. So might ought to check that lake out. It's kind of a one we don't fish that much. Going to rotate down the road to Fayette County Lake. As hot as it is right now, you might want to think about Fayette County. The bass are biting really well at night right now. They're biting a half ounce black Colorado bladed spinnerbait slow rolled off the edge of the hydrilla in 4 to 8 foot of water. That's one of the patterns. And the other thing you can do is the fish are relating to the rocks. Take you a 10-inch black and blue power worm, fish along the dam out to the edge of the rocks, and also in the hot water discharge where the rock edges are. You find those rocks right now, you'll find the bass. The Fayette's really on fire and has been for a while. Next place we're going to talk about is my favorite, one of my haunts I spend a lot of time at. At Lake Falcon, the bass are biting really well. I'm throwing a Z-Boss 20 crankbait or a big worm on a head turner jig head out on the ledge rock in 10 to 18 foot of water on the lower half of the lake. Catching a ton of numbers right now, and you're getting several big ones mixed in every day. So things are looking good in the South Texas region.
Tell me about the photo there, big man.
That's my buddy Greg Boyk with a Fayette County bass. He guides there at his Anglers Angle Guide Service. You might give him a call if you have a desire to go to Fayette County.
Hey, are you finished with your bass, or do you want to tell us a little bit about Falcon?
I'm kind of, Falcon, heck, I love it down there. You're going to have an opportunity at a big fish nearly every day. And when I say a big fish, I'm saying an 8+. You don't catch one every day, but you generally have an opportunity. So give me a call if y'all want to line up a trip down that way.
All right, Somerville, give it to me. Hybrids.
All right, Lake Somerville, the hybrid stripers and the white bass are active in the mornings on the lower end of the lake. You can find them schooling a lot of times on top. If you can't find them on top, look for the schools of shad and, on your low ranch electronics. When they're up, you can catch them on top water or crankbait. When they're down, throw a slab spoon at them, and they're so much fun to catch. So they're aggressive fish that bite really hard. Going to roll to species number 3.
All right.
We're going to talk about some crappie. Lake Falcon and the crappie are still incredible right now. They're in the brush piles in 15 to 20 foot of water, catching them on 1/8 ounce jigs, and there's great numbers and big ones mixed in.
All right, tell me about the photo crappie. Yeah.
That photo there was a 2-man limit of crappie that 2 customers of mine caught in an hour and a half one day this last week. We actually caught 70 out of one brush pile in an hour and a half. So the numbers are phenomenal down there right now.
All right, so Matt, I got a quick question for you. I asked this same question to Rick. What about the summertime when it's hot like this? Do you guys do a lot of night fishing, especially down in South Texas?
I made a deal with those fish a long time ago, Rick. They'll bite my bait in the daytime. I'll leave them alone at night. It's really hot, but fishing is really good in the summer down there. Our biggest fish last year was caught in August. My biggest fish I've ever caught on Falcon was caught in August. So if you can stand it, they will bite.
All right, man. Thank you for keeping us abreast. We'll talk to you later. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh hotspots. Largemouth bass on Fayette County Lake are biting at night on black spinnerbaits and Texas rig dark worms, hybrids, and white bass schooling in the mornings on the lower end of Lake Somerville.
Well, there you have it. Father's Day all wrapped up into 1 hour of beautifulness and full of fish. There we go. Hey, I'm going to try these on real quick. These look pretty neat.
You want to try those on?
Anything else you want to say to the dads of
good,
Texas?
Hey guys, I hope that you're able to spend the weekend with your family, and more importantly, if you catch a good fish, send us a picture. We want to see it, all right? Thanks for tuning in. Right, Dave?
That's right.
Bye, guys. Have a good weekend. Happy
Looking
Father's
good there,
Day. Thank you.
I like it.
Costas.
Like a sharky now.
Bye.